We're starting off today talking about something that is going to happen to us all. We are going to die. But we're talking about how and when you die, in what circumstances.
Yes, well, he said a peaceful and dignified death was his final wish. And after overcoming significant hurdles, earlier this month, 80-year-old Geoff Whaley ended his life at a Dignitas clinic in Switzerland.
Right, but Geoff wrote a letter to MPs. It was an open letter. He wanted everybody to hear about this before his death. And he said his final weeks of life had been blighted by visits from social services and police after his wife faced criminal charges for assisting him, remember that is against the law here, assisting him in his journey to Switzerland.
His family are continuing to petition for a change in the law. Two of them are here now, his lovely wife, Anne, and daughter, Alix. Firstly, Anne and Alix, may we say our huge condolences to you and the family. This is very, very recent for you, and I'm sure still very raw and a very traumatic time. But you are determined you want to talk about this, Anne, because these were your husband Geoff's dying wishes, that you continue this fight for him. How difficult has that been?
Well, Geoff started it when the police got involved after an anonymous call accused me of domestic abuse, and the law meant that they had to caution me. And this was terrible because he has, right from the beginning when he was diagnosed with motor neuron disease, he made it quite clear to everybody, or the doctors, the hospitals, they all knew that he wanted to plan his end.
And that was pretty much straight away.
Oh, within days.
Was the suggestion that you were forcing him into this?
Well, this is what domestic abuse is. It means that I was unduly influencing. What I did, by the time he became totally paralysed from the neck down, and don't forget, all he had left was his voice and a very active brain, but he couldn't do anything. And his last wishes was that I had to ring the airline and book the hotel in order. He had arranged everything himself, all the hurdles he had to get through to get the green light from Dignitas.
And as you said, he'd done that very early on, more or less as soon as he'd been diagnosed.
It took weeks.
And then he kind of put that to one side because he then wanted to live as much life as he could with you and the family.
Yeah. Exactly. He thought that by doing this, he could then put it in a box and live what life he had left with what quality he had to live it.
Well, he left a letter to make everybody, to make us aware, to make MPs aware of this situation, and in defence of you, of course, Anne. And he said, "My final weeks of life have been blighted by visits from social services and police. The law in this country robbed me of control over my death. The hypocrisy and cruelty of this is astounding. In 52 years of marriage, Anne had not seen me cry. The day we were contacted by the police, I sobbed. I want MPs to know that change is urgently needed and that it is achievable. No family should ever have to endure the torment we have undergone in recent weeks." One of the things I want to say, Anne, is that a lot of people here in this country, there tends to be a feeling amongst officialdom, quel horreur, that you should actually decide a time and place of your own going. Yet, assisted suicide or dying is perfectly acceptable in the Netherlands, in Belgium, in Luxembourg, in Switzerland, in 5 states in the USA, including California, and in Canada. Why, Alix, can we not get our heads around it here? Or officialdom? I think people can. I think if you put this to a poll, heaven forbid that they have another referendum on something, I think most people would say, yeah, you wouldn't let this happen to an animal.
82%.
Yeah. So why can't officialdom get its head around this?
Oh, I think it's just the way...
I think what I'm saying to you is, you lived through this. You saw your dad's wishes.
Yeah.
Your dad died in your arms.
Yeah, he did.
Can you explain to us, can you tell us what that experience was like?
It was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done and will ever have to do. But it was very peaceful.
He had a good death.
He had a good death, yeah.
He died very quickly after taking the medication. And I just put my arms around him and said, "I love you." And faintly the words came, "I love you so." And that was it. he died a good death, not the bad death he knew was going to come to him within the next few weeks.
And did you support him right from the start, Anne, when he very first said, you and the
We all
family?
did.
We all did. You know, what you have to realise that something like 80% of people who do get the green light from Dignitas don't actually go. But by doing it, it gives you a sort of, you know, a backstop that you can then forget it.
It was a control for Dad.
When I started, I lost about over a stone in weight in 3 weeks, was when he finally said, right, my voice is going, my swallowing ability is going, and I have to swallow the medication on my own.
So when the police and social services came to the house, what happened to you?
Well, of course, it was a shock. We thought, well, they came in and they immediately realised it wasn't a domestic abuse situation. They were quite mortified, in fact. And we thought, well, that's it will be dropped. But the law has to take its course. And the law as it stands from the 1961 Assisted Dying Act means that once started, I had to be interviewed under caution, and then it went up to the Crown prosecution to the highest level of complex cases. And it was 7 days before the police came around and said, we're going to drop it. But it had to go right up to the top. That's the law, not the police. But in that time, Geoff himself had gone up to Parliament and spoken to MPs and peers. But they actually said, we've never had the opportunity to speak to somebody who's actually gone through the process, because most people just do it quietly.
But they must have put to him when he had that meeting, and it must have been very difficult for him. He's a very unwell man.
He spoke for an hour and a quarter.
Yeah.
They must have put to him the concerns that some people have, which is this could be used in the wrong way to say to somebody, look, we don't know, you're a bit of a
How could it be used in the wrong way?
It can't
Because
be. No,
it can't be used in the wrong way. Most countries with assisted suicide stipulate that the patient must be suffering unbearable constant pain or be terminally ill. There is no intervention from judges or the courts.
So that's what I'm
they
saying.
rely
How
on
did he
doctors, more than
answer
one
that?
doctor at a time with this, so that and they also ensure that the patients are mentally competent, not suffering from depression.
And the patient can't just say that. Geoffrey had to produce psychiatric reports that we had to have made to show that he had settled intent, that he had no influence. Even the night before his designated demise, the doctor came and who was prescribing the medicine. We'd seen him 6 months before, and he said, I have to interview you for half an hour to make quite sure. And he said, if I have the slightest doubt, you're back home on the next plane. And Geoff told the MPs and the peers quite clearly, give me a few weak and vulnerable people, and they wouldn't get anywhere near. They wouldn't pass. It is, he said, it's not beyond the wit of you lawmakers to devise an act that has all the safeguards and hoops to prevent the weak and the vulnerable being exposed, being, exploited.
And what do you and the family intend to do now? What do you do for your father in his memory going forward now?
We want to get the law changed. We want to make awareness. We said to Dad we would leave a legacy. We'll fight, won't we? Fight.
Yeah. He started it by going up to Parliament,
carry it on
and writing to the peers and the MPs, and already MPs have been raising questions in the House. His name is now in Hansard. It started. We're hoping to have an interview with the Justice Minister to meet him. Already the Prime Minister has been written to asking if the law can be reassessed.
You sound very determined, Anne.
A debate is... Well, it's not us that started it, it's Geoff that started this by turning a negative situation into a positive one. We had no choice. Whoever made that anonymous phone call, it spectacularly backfired.
We've got a lot of support from our viewers today. Glenda Collins says, it's our life, it should be our decision. Erin Briley, I'd rather pass away with dignity than slowly fade away in front of my family, which was happening to Geoff in front of your eyes.
But Alix, you feel that at the timing of your dad's passing, that you were robbed of more time with him because of this interference?
Yes, I think the last, 2 weeks of his life to have this all happen, it was like a bomb going off, wasn't it? It was...
You could have had more time
We could have had
with
more
them.
time, you know. We could have had... I'm not saying we could have had months, but we could have had 3, 4, 5 weeks. We don't know.
Yeah.
If he died, he'd been able to die in this country,
in his own home.
in his own home,
with his family,
But he had to go early. He had to know his swallowing was fading, and he couldn't risk it getting worse, so he couldn't suck the medicine through a straw.
Well, Anne and Alix, thank you for recounting. I know you're driven by this. Geoff's memory lives on as we talk about this, and it'll be very interesting to see what happens with your various meetings. Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much
It's ongoing.
And once again, our
We're in his
condolences and
name.
sympathies to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.